Hello, everybody. How is everyone doing? I hope
Hello.
you're all well. How's it going, Stephen and Nick?
Hello.
Hello.
It's going well. I'm very big.
That was our smoothest intro yet.
It's about
But
time.
I suppose the folks in the stream can weigh in on that. Hello, everyone. Hello, 13 Flaws and Development of a Void, and anyone else who might be in there.
Hi, gang.
Yeah, we're trying to up our production standards here over at Bandless. Thanks to all of the folks with us at Patreon. We're stepping up the game. And speaking of Patreon, just want to say thank you to everyone there. Everyone, if you're not familiar with our Patreon thing, it can be found here. I'm going to put it in the old streamaroonie. No pressure, but if you're into it, it's there. And, just a little shout out to Mark, Development of a Void, Cosman, Renato, Ben Drakeford, Tanner, Baritone Cult, Barry Prosser, Kevin O'Brien, and Anthony Nieto.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for contributing to the channel. It is helping to drive everything forward.
Hello, Seth Chris.
What do you guys think of the polka dots? Is it too much?
I like the polka dots.
It's dapper.
It's dapper.
They even got these little, whatever these little buttons are inside the collar to keep them like extra vato.
Just to keep them extra.
Amen. Where you from?
Where are you from? So we got Stephen Barton with us. Not Bartman, Barton.
Like some asshole kept saying.
But
Sorry.
Nick Hill,
Yeah.
I'm wondering if you can let folks know what this show is all about. Are you ready for that?
I would
You would love to?
love to, except I am ill prepared.
Okay. Well, I am prepared.
It's as if I've been gone for a week.
You've been gone for a week. It's no big deal. We got Stephen Barton with us again this week. Thanks, Stephen, for hanging out. And today's show is all about musician, artist, performer. What are the distinctions between those things? Is there a distinction between those things? And what does it mean to us as we kind of attempt to move forward, especially as solo creators? And, to try and maybe identify where our strengths are, where our weaknesses are, all that sort of stuff. Bandless, for those of you who don't know, who are just joining us for the first time, which is unlikely, but in case there's some new viewers, Bandless is all about, the sort of highlighting the tools, tactics, and perspectives that might help to illuminate the path forward for the solo artist, the solo creator. Even if you are, in fact, in a band, it never hurts to kind of have that focused, laser focus to get things done and take control and all that. Nick Hill, it looks as though you're good to go. I'm curious if you can, highlight today's topic.
Yes. So today's topic, it's very common for folks, especially regular. Am I reading the right one?
You
are. Idiot. It's very common for folks, especially regular folks, those on the outside, to confuse a musician for an artist or a performer. Some are gifted and studied and can cover all three. Some are a combo of two, and many are just one, like a lot of us probably.
Yeah.
It's worthy of contemplation because it tells us where we are at and what might require more attention. What's your own perspective of yourself? Where are you at? How does it impact your progress? And what might you be focused on to get, to the end of things? Yeah, speed. Doesn't even matter. Sorry, guys. Jeez, I really apologize.
Also, my writing is great.
No, your writing's fine. I just clearly can't read. I'm disorganized. I was just clearly more worried about the damn polka dot shirt than being prepared for the show. No, serious apologies. It's been a little bit of a whirlwind. since I
Not a
got
worry.
back.
I think we covered it off quite nicely there. Before we get into it, just want to say hello to a bunch of folks. We already said hello to 13 Flaws. We'll start at the beginning anyway. 13 Flaws, Development of a Void. Reed, Strung Out. Anthony, hello.
Hi, Dylan.
Synth Chris. Anthony Nieto. Did I already say Anthony?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Dylan and Abe. Abe the babist.
Freaking screen names, right?
Yeah. Hello, everyone.
What's up, guys?
What is up? We're going to get into the first point here. And that point is, the musician point. What is a musician? I'd like to think that we all know what that is, but maybe getting a little bit more clear on that and what your personal perspective of that is and how it might impact how you are going about things. Although this is not often contemplated, the word shares a great deal with technician, the ishin part, musician, technician. And it has become a very casual term, musician. It's a very casual term to throw around, but many of us can't really show up cold to a gig and, do the job, kind of like a jazzer. Like jazz people, they can just get a call right now and show up, get some charts, do the gig, get paid, get out of there. And maybe conversely similar with something like a plumber. A plumber, you call them up, they show up, they do the job, they get paid, they get out of there. We're going to throw it to Steven first, but for me, just to, highlight or to elaborate a little bit more, I can't do any of that. If somebody called me up and said, hey, can you sit in on this gig? I can't do that. That's not a bad thing, but it's just like getting really clear, like, where am I at with this musician thing? Am I a musician? I am not. Steven, where do you fit into that? And what's your perspective of that in terms of going forward and communicating with other musicians, playing with other people, doing your thing?
Well, if the gig is like we're gonna be playing like 12-bar blues or something, then yeah, I'm in. I will hate every moment of it, but I got it. Same thing if it was like drums and those type of gigs, or like something that's like classic rock gigs or something. I think I could pull that off. But if we're looking at it from the plumber pipe fitter perspective, I am not a musician.
In the sort of traditional professional sense.
Yeah. But, comme si, comme ça.
And Nick, where do you kind of fit in on that, and what's your perspective of it? Does it impact what you do? Does it motivate what you do in any way in terms of?
Yeah. Much like you said and Steven said, like, probably to a lesser degree, I couldn't just jump up and play along with the band. I don't know music very well at all. I am trained by ear pretty much on my own.
Mm-hmm.
So I am not a classical musician at all in any sense of the word. I have to know what I'm doing before I go up on stage. So I am definitely not a musician if in this context.
And for both of you, we'll go back to Steven, kind of getting clear on that. Is there any part of knowing that is a motivation to you in terms of what you do going forward? Like, does it motivate you to kind of pay a little bit more attention, to develop things? Is it all that important to where you're at and what you're doing?
I guess getting better is a part of it for sure. I want to know more stuff and be more versed in my instrument and communication amongst other musicians. So
would you say that that's one of the biggest things, the communicating with other musicians?
Yeah, when I know I'm talking to somebody that's, certainly in that world, if they're a quote unquote musician, and which I am, admittedly not based upon this description. In those conversations, I want to feel, toe to toe, but I guess I would go into it understanding like I don't In the same way that if I was dealing with anything that I'm not familiar with, I want to be educated, and I'm sure some of it's going to go over my head, but what little bits and pieces of it I can take away from it are probably going to be beneficial to me.
Right. And would you say that kind of having a clear perspective on it allows you to be more upfront about it in a communicable way?
Well, yeah, you don't really have a choice there, I suppose.
Right. Some people try to hide it, though. Nick, in terms of when you were doing the hardcore band, what were those guys all about? What, or anything that you're doing? Like you do a lot of work for the music stores, doing videos for them and all that stuff, and you're around a lot of like maybe heavier players.
Real musicians.
Well, just
No, it's fine.
we all play music, but I'm just trying
I
to.
say that a little tongue in cheek, of course. And I'm a little hard on myself. You guys know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I can fake my way through a lot, I think.
Right.
I am super upfront with anybody I play with about where I am, what I'm capable of doing. That being said, I'm also one of those idiots. You guys know this by knowing me. Like, I will dive headfirst into not the video stuff is a prime example. Like, I was not prepared to do it. I dove in and I figured it out. Now, obviously, doing that on stage will make you look like a real prick.
It can.
Yeah,
You might get away with it.
you might. But yeah, I'm totally open and upfront and probably sell myself a little bit short just to be on the safe side. The band I was in, none of us were musically trained except for our drummer, ironically enough, and he was insanely trained.
Right. That seems to be often the case.
On top of being a ridiculously good drummer.
Right.
Yeah, so that wasn't really an issue there. It was just, knuckleheads riffing, trying to write something that sounded decent. So that was a perfect kind of thing for me. But, if you kind of communicate, like you said, about it, you can get past this thing, I think, this part of it. You can sort of...
I don't think it's incredibly important to be a professional musician to pursue music in that regard. But I think there's a lot of value in really being clear on the differences of what those things entail.
Yeah.
When I very first moved to Toronto, I came from a small city where everyone that I played music with was kind of where I was at. And it was just normal. Like, I'm a musician. And then I started going for gigs here, like going to what do you call it? Not rehearsals. Well, there were
Auditions.
Auditions. I started going to auditions because Toronto music scene at the time was like a lot. Everybody was going for it. And like the first 3 auditions I went to, they were all kind of the same. People are like, they have charts. Some of them had charts for the actual written music for the stuff, and they're like, oh, this is the key, da 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 da, and they're talking in the terms of musicians, and I was like, holy crap, I am way out of my league. And they were like metal bands or bands that I didn't think this would be a thing in. I don't think that's as common these days, but at that point it was, and it really shook me up, and I was like, oh, I went straight to the music store, bought a book on scales. I'm like, what are scales? And I spent a week just like, what are these things? How do they work? How can I use them? And it was maybe one of the most positive things that I ever did in terms of just being able to slightly better communicate and also apply myself to my own music in a more, a lot less guessing. I'm like, oh, that thing I always do, that's this.
Yeah.
And these things that never seem to work, it's because they don't work.
Yeah. I on the flip side of that, because we've talked a lot and messed around and talked about composition. Like, I like that I have to guess.
Right.
Like, I like the accidents. The stuff that probably doesn't make it. I mean, you point it out all the time. Like, it sounds cool, but it doesn't really make any sense. And I'm like,
which is totally fine. There's no reason why it can't be that.
yeah, I don't take it as a negative at all.
Yeah.
I do know, and as I'm sure Stephen can speak to this more. I do know that I wish I would have spent a little more time learning at least some sort of groundwork, basic knowledge of what the f I'm doing.
Yeah, it's not too late. It's pretty easy stuff.
It's not.
I'm
It's
telling you,
also,
it is. 7
Yeah.
notes: A, B, C, D, F, G.
Yeah, I know.
Sharps and flats. So
I think
12 total.
like without tangent, without the art of the tangent, like we're so good at. I just don't know where to begin when it comes to that.
I'll help you out. I'll come
That's-
down. I'll come out to that Milwaukee, and
Yeah,
I'll
come
be
to
like,
Milwaukee and teach me.
this is
music,
it.
please.
7 notes.
Teach me how to play guitar, bud.
This many.
Do
No,
that
it's not-
stupid lesson thing that I sent you earlier.
I'm gonna fucking watch it over and over. Send me all your lessons.
Stephen, how are you with, like, if someone shouts out a key to you, A minor, and you're like, oh, I know what that is.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm
Okay.
good on that stuff.
Cool.
I get murky when someone is like, play the seventh or play, whatever the, inverted fifth thing that I have to like process it.
Right.
So you're not Rick Beato, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
No, but Rick Beato is not Rick Beato, if we're being honest.
He's an android.
The thing we don't see about Rick Beato, and no slight to him, his channel is amazing, but except for when he gets mad at Apple.
Right.
There's prep work that goes into those videos prior to the video.
Oh, sure.
So if he doesn't know something, he's not telling you he didn't know it. He's
Right.
just doing it.
Yeah.
Right.
He does know quite a bit.
Oh, yeah,
though.
he's very versed.
Yeah.
Clearly
Yeah.
very versed.
In his live streams, it seems like he pretty much can just regurgitate that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, in terms of the numbers, they are associated with, there are 7 notes in a traditional sort of classical based scale. There are some exceptions there, but, there are 7 notes there, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Anything beyond 7, if someone's like, a 10 chord or whatever, it's just in the next octave.
Yeah.
It's very simple. But anyway, we're not going to.
I got it.
You got it. It's done.
Go play.
Accomplished.
But that's about all I want to talk about on that point. Is there anything either of you guys kind of, are inspired to bring up?
No.
Cool. It's
I've
done.
I've never felt this was a big enough hurdle for that would keep me from trying out for bands, I guess. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess it depends what kinds of bands. If you're
That's a good point.
doing pop
Yeah.
bands or whatever, it might be more important. But if you're doing like hardcore bands or metal bands, a lot of them don't really care. Some
Yeah.
of them do, though.
I find that most musicians, or at least the people that I've interacted with, which is a lot over the years,
Yeah.
are basically where we're at with it. There's usually 1 or 2 that are on that other level of it, and then everyone else is somewhere, outside of that.
Yeah.
It's not I mean, like, they exist clearly, but it's not terribly common for you to like go to any gig at all and be like, everybody here knows exactly what every note is.
Like somebody from Berkeley School of Music in a black metal band.
Yeah, and that if you bring that up, I know 2 people that graduated from Berkeley that didn't retain a lot of it. So
Right. Depends, I suppose, if
Great.
it's useful to your endeavor.
yeah,
That's true as well. Yeah.
Going to grab a few comments before we get to the next point. But, Development of a Void says, isn't a musician someone who gets paid to play, perform music from a traditional definition? And as far as I would assume, understand, have experience with, what you're talking about is a professional musician. So the difference
Pro
between an
versus
amateur versus, Stephen, your face is cut off there.
you don't need it.
We do. But a professional and an amateur. An amateur typically doesn't do it for money or doesn't get paid. And then, when you get to pro, a pro performer, a pro musician, a pro artist, professional gets paid. But you don't necessarily need to be a musician to get paid. But you do need to be a pro of some kind, providing a professional I don't know, some kind of
Thing.
professional thing.
You're providing a service or entertainment at the least.
Yeah. Do any of you guys have an eye on another comment?
Yes.
Go for it.
Self-inflatable says, I think the important part of technician is the tech part and not the ishin part. A magician can be someone who does a child's party or Penn and Teller. So I gotta totally disagree. Artie, you're not wrong. He's right. It's kind of, it is like a level thing.
Well, a magician is a technician of magic.
Technically speaking.
Yeah. Technically speaking. That's a good one.
An illusionist.
Yeah. I'm just going to move you over here for a moment there. We're going to trade spaces.
This is very exciting. I'm facing the wrong direction now.
Well, we'll bring you back. We'll loop you back. Anyone got any looks on any more comments? I got one here.
Do it.
And I'm going to put me down there now. Bam. There you go. I feel like it's up to each individual to say for themselves if they are a musician or an artist or a performer. It's also up to their audience to determine if they agree or not. I don't know. There's kind of like thinking about it in terms of feelings, and then there's thinking about it in terms of just matter of fact communicable concepts that describe something specifically. And I guess that's kind of how we're approaching this for the purpose of getting clear with our feelings and where we're actually at, because sometimes your feelings can lead you astray and it's not actually providing you any insight into where you're at or what's useful to you.
Yeah.
If it's not in the way, then it doesn't matter. This is all just a conversation.
Yeah, this is exactly. I think we should reiterate that. Like this, we're not saying like these are hard facts. This is just something. It's a discussion. It's a prompt. Like,
for your own personal evaluation and looking to the future. It's like, where do I want to go and where am I at? If I don't know where I'm at, then it might be more difficult to get to where I want to go. But it might not matter. Anyone got a line on one more comment?
RoughRiffs has one here. On the note of music theory, I took several classes on it during college. They were interesting and useful as a reference, but I gravitate towards playing how I like over composing by guidelines.
I agree. Same.
Yeah.
It's good to know the framework, but also just go.
Yeah, just fucking right. Yeah.
It's interesting. I rely on theory heavily, but only specific parts of it. So in terms of composition, I don't give a damn. However, when it comes to melody and like chord melody in general, and overall harmony, I am unbelievably strict about it in my own music. And for a few different reasons. It allows me to get to the results I want really quickly, and try a lot of things out. I'll try out 100 different things. And I'll be like, that's what I'm going for. That's not what I'm going for. And I can go through them quickly. And also rhythmically, I guess, as well. But how it's all put together in terms of the final composition, that's maybe where I rely more on art. And what's interesting about the theory part is I know so few people that use it that it's actually kind of odd to do it that way. Mm-hmm. Most people are really interested in using accidentals or just not giving a damn about all of it. So it's actually super unique to kind of adhere to some form of a rigid system. Not saying that I'm brilliant or anything.
No. But I think with my ear, I know how this is going to sound, but I think I have a pretty good musical ear. I would assume with the stuff I write, it probably falls in line with, theory for the most part. Yeah,
most of it does, especially like there are like your Devon track. That is pretty locked into, just regular minor.
Yeah.
I haven't listened to it with a fine-tooth comb, but it doesn't
not?
sound like there's any outside notes whatsoever in that.
How dare you?
How dare you? Well, you know what I'm talking about, Nickel.
Yeah.
We're going to jump to our next little point here, point 2, which is the artist. What is an artist? Are you actually even creative? This is a sensitive topic here. And the reason why I bring this one up, why I want to highlight on this one, is because I know a lot of people, especially outside of music completely, and they're like, oh, you play guitar, you're so creative. I'm like, just because a person plays guitar doesn't mean they're creative at all.
Yeah.
And not to say that
But that's okay.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But there's an assumption that if you participate in music, if you know how to play 4 chords, that you are creative. And that's not necessarily true. And, you know, I've known people who never wrote in their life, and then they kind of got into a band, and then they tried to write, and they're like, I don't know how to write. I don't know how to come up with anything. And
It's
it was
hard.
like, it was a thing. They're like, holy shit. I thought I just would be able to. And I think everybody can develop it. I don't think it's like this elusive thing. Some people are more weird than other people about it. Stephen, do you have any experiences in your life where you've kind of witnessed that, where you're like, oh, people who assumed that they could write and they just can't, or people on the outside that are like, oh yeah, musicians, they're artists, and some of them just aren't?
Yeah.
You don't want to touch this one.
Yeah. No, I played in a few bands earlier on, like in high school and coming out of with a couple of guys that were like bedroom virtuosos, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
dudes that like memorize the guitar grimoire and can play every solo to every song, and like
Yeah, and they're technically amazing.
yes, very proficient. And if a girl comes over and they're like, let me play this dime bag solo, or drop your underwear, there's about to be a Dave Matthews cover, but if you were like, hey, we're gonna write a song together, they'd be like, nothing. You get nothing out of them.
Yeah.
But me being the person who was the 4-chord guy at that point in my life,
Right.
could write circles around those dudes. But that's I don't know. I did a stupid video on this. Writing should be just as much a practice as anything else.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
If you want to get better at anything, you have to practice it, and writing is no stranger to that rule. So.
Yeah, and I think that goes hand in hand with why I always encourage people to just record their playing. You know,
Yeah.
just record their riffs, and then record. Like it leads to accidentally writing stuff, and you're practicing that. You're practicing guitar. You're practicing composition and writing, and it's yeah.
Are you guys familiar with the band The Shags?
No.
No? There's this band, The Shags, from, I don't know, maybe late 60s, early 70s. And it was a group of sisters, and the father was just like, you guys are going to be a band. And they just put some music together, and it's insane. They couldn't play at all. But they made stuff, and it's considered outsider music. It's so insane. Self-Inflatable's in the stream. He knows it really well.
I think I actually know what you're referring to. I didn't know it was called that, but somebody sent me that before, along with this story.
Yeah, the popular tune is called My Pal Foot Foot.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
And
It's weird as fuck.
it's so weird. But, arguably, it's incredibly artistic. And they don't know anything. They never played. And the interesting phenomena about it is the engineer at first thought they were just like, they would stop, and the engineer would be like, why are you stopping? They're like, oh, we made a mistake. And he's like, the whole thing is a mistake. And thinking that in his head. And then as he got deeper into it, he realized that they played the exact same thing over every time. And they knew exactly what they intended to do, what they had created.
Wasn't good.
Well, good
Wasn't
is
right, I guess.
Yeah, it wasn't right for what they had decided to do, what they had created. Very interesting project from a perspective of art and making things. Some people would argue that it's not art, but I think it's actually very high art. But that the topic of art is a very convoluted
We're not
thing.
going to agree on everything.
Yeah, we're not going to go there.
Art is very subjective.
Yeah. Nick, you
Yeah.
have kind of a weigh in on this one.
regards
your
to-
experience of it in terms of maybe even your own experience with it, where you kind of didn't even care about being a musician. You're like, I just want to make things. You were more interested in the art, more
Yeah.
interested in the creativity. I think that's something that we all have in common. I was always interested in just making things.
Yeah, I think I got to a certain level of my guitar playing because I did practice, and I do practice, and
Yeah,
and
to some
try
extent.
to improve. But I got to a point where I preferred to just write my own stuff. Like, people will ask me all the time, like, "Oh, can you play this song? Can you play this song?" Like, friends and family.
That's
It's
the
like
worst.
it's like I know I could, but I don't know it. I write my own stuff. I don't
Yeah.
sit. Practicing other people's music is a good way to practice and improve and learn some different techniques.
It can be a
But-
trap as well.
Yeah, I got out of it
Yeah.
pretty quickly in my guitar playing and just started writing stuff. A lot. I mean, we went through on several live streams ago some of my old archives, and that's just me recording every stupid idea I came up with, just
Yeah.
because I wanted to write. I wanted to write.
do
I'm
it.
like, if I write, at some point, there's like when I first started making beats, I'm like, I got to make 100 beats because it's gonna take that long to get one that sounds decent. You know what I mean? Like, and it is me not knowing what I'm doing and learning techniques and soundscaping and everything. But like, I jumped that playing songs thing and started writing way early, which might be a detriment to where I am overall as a guitar player. That remains to be seen. That's subjective. I know a lot of people think I'm a good guitar player, and I know I'm not bad, but
Yeah.
for how long I've been playing, I probably should technically be a little bit better, but I chose to just write,
Yeah.
you know.
Same.
Yeah.
Cool beans. Does anybody have anything to? Is anyone inspired by any part of this to add to any of that?
No, I kind of agree with Nick. I also, think in terms of, where the states are with the minimum wage is where I am with my playing.
Yeah. Not enough to survive.
As a
It should be better by now, significantly better, but it's where it is.
Oh man. Yeah, since Chris he just popped up with a comment I just happened to read. Like, that was the other thing. I didn't learn songs. Like, when I started playing, tabs were like in its infancy. I couldn't read music, so I learned so much stuff by ear, and to
Yeah.
this day I still do.
Yeah.
Yeah, for what it's worth.
Yeah, my ear goes into the way things are crafted. I think that's probably how we all kind of listen to it. The way
Yeah.
things flow, the way things are joined together, and I'm just like, ooh,
Yeah.
transitions and
Transitions and
in-
layers.
i-
I always
interplay.
noticed layers. Yeah.
I just that's what gets my whole attention.
The combination of the things is if you know the rudimentary portion of it, just the basic scales and stuff. If you start to learn, if you know how to learn by ear and you're good at it, you'll kind of already know the road work when you're starting to learn something. If you get like the first two notes, you know that it can only go so many places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that
But
is
can it? But
it can go wherever you want it to. I mean, but if you're talking like, okay, I'm going to learn a bunch of, Dillinger Escape Plan or like Lightning Bolt or something, then it doesn't matter. It's going to be all over the place on purpose. But generally, if you're, something that's more of a traditional structure, if you can find the root notes, then you kind of know where everything else is. You just have to kind of find.
Yep. Yeah, things that are written in, it's very easy to navigate if you have a little bit of insight into that. But we're going to grab a few comments here before we get to the next point point, unless there's something else you guys would like to add to
No,
that
there's
one.
so many good comments right now.
There
there's
is.
a lot of good comments.
Anyone got an eye on any one of them specifically?
Yeah, Renato. This one I saw was good. I made music for 15 years before tackling theory. On one side, it was very enriching. On the other side, I caught myself not writing as free as before anymore. And that is low key something I think about. I like to think that if I began to learn more and more about music, I could recognize that might be happening. But I don't know. Steven, what do you think?
Yeah, I guess it's kind of, I see both sides of that.
Mhm.
Fortunately for me, I
They're
get
kind of
away.
paralleled.
Yeah, I get away from theory sometimes just because it's not always in practice. Like right now, I have students for guitar, so I'm very versed in theory again because I'm learning it again to show
Yeah.
it to others. So, but I'm also not writing a lot of music right now because what I am writing is just for the YouTube channel and whatnot. And I guess, I don't know, I'm using it on vocal stuff when I do stuff for you because I play the melodies on a piano and then sing over those. So, and delete the piano. So I sound like I know what I'm doing, but I don't.
Busted. You should leave the piano,
Yeah.
the MIDI piano.
Whatchamacallit, a few, I'm gonna kind of firestorm through a few comments here, but we got some Shags. Anthony says he knows the Shags, and he's like, wow, super cool, super outside. Reed also knows the Shags. It's kind of wild. Yeah, they're a very wild thing. And then, excuse me, jumping into a comment here. This is going to be a double comment as well. Baritone Cult says, exactly, Nick, I haven't played a cover since I was like 16, 17. It's all about original music. Agree with you. And Synth Chris also says, learning some songs by ear has really helped me get ideas from my brain to the guitar, but I'm not super into covers otherwise.
Totally.
And what's interesting about both Baritone Cult and Synth Chris is, I can hear it in their music. Like they clearly have their own styles. And I think that's something that comes from when you're just hyper focused on doing your own thing with it and kind of leaving the cover thing alone. I think maybe some people have good luck with learning a lot of covers, but I do find a lot of people that I've known personally in the past, they tend to sound like an amalgamation of all of the covers that they know. And I had mentioned while we were talking about it earlier that it can be a trap. And some people are aware of this. They're like, man, I need to get away from sounding like this thing that I spent so much of my life studying and learning all their material. Some people have a hard time getting away from it. Some people don't even know that they're trapped in it. I've been able to sort of observe some of that and have made a conscious decision from an early age to just focus on doing my own thing. I only know really how to play my own things unless I accidentally fall onto someone else's riff. I'm like, hey, wait, that's this guy's riff.
I have a comment that is going to lead down a tangent, but
That's okay. We like
it's all about.
tangents.
So, Strung Out says, I can learn by ear for the most part, and I know how to write tabs. I usually jot down my riff ideas using tabs. So, what I meant by tangent is like, do you guys document your riffs? Like, ever?
I just record them, but I also come up with them usually in such a way that they are structured that is hard to forget. Or if I think there is a risk of forgetting it, I'll just record it. I don't write tabs.
Steven, having been in several bands and in bands now, like, do you ever, like, I don't have my riffs notated or tabbed anywhere forever. And I still can, like, once I get started, remember them.
Right.
I just find that an interesting thing.
I've never, I had friends that used, was a program you could write tab on.
Guitar Pro.
Guitar Pro.
Guitar Pro.
And Tux.
That used that to save songs and stuff.
Yep.
And that always seemed like I understand what they're doing and it makes sense and it actually is probably a better way of saving the idea. But for me, I always just like, well, just record the idea.
Yeah.
But I get it from the perspective of there's none of that. Like I'm doing this right now. In Close the Hatch. Have wrote a record over the past year. Now I'm in the point where we're recording those songs, but I haven't played them since I recorded them initially in the demo.
And
So
you're
I'm
sort
having
of
to-
struggling.
I'm relearning all of my own material.
Totally.
So in that regard, I can see that maybe I'm the one doing it the wrong way.
Yeah.
So
Do you ever
Yeah.
find yourself in a situation where you're like, it seems like the idea you had, you're like, this is really complex. And you're like, wait. I don't do complex things. And you're like, oh, the notes have to be like really easy to grab.
yeah, there's a couple of songs, particularly on the newest batch of stuff, that I messed up, and like, luckily there's a lot of instrumental stuff in like post-metal doom stuff.
Right.
So I can just be like, that's a spot I won't sing on because I won't be able to play it and sing at the same time. But there's like 2 intro parts on this next record that I'm like, yeah, there's no way I can play those and sing at the same time, which is why having 2 guitar players is cool. But if I wrote 2 or 3 guitar parts for that section of the song, well, I have to pick one of them.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I mean,
I like this. I always, yeah, I like hearing other people's like sides of this because, it's funny. Like most of the everything I've written, like it's never been played, with another person in mind.
Right.
So
Right. It's
that'll
for a
be
recording.
interesting if
Yeah.
we ever cross that bridge.
Yeah. It'll happen. We're going to grab a few more and then we're going to get to the last point and then we're just going to hang out in the comments.
Cool.
This one is by Renato. And he says, I made music for 15 years before tackling theory. On one side, it was very enriching. On the other side, I caught myself not writing as free as before anymore. And
I think
yeah,
I picked that one.
we
Oh,
did that.
did you already say this one? Oh, okay.
Come on, man.
Man. Okay. Do you have your eye on another one? Oh, yeah. Okay. Never mind.
It happens. It was so good. We needed to put it up twice.
Yeah. And I found having some understanding of theory has helped open doors of creativity rather than close them. And this is generally the case. You can get, you can get taken away by theory, as Renato had mentioned earlier. But I think once you get far enough into it, it's just a tool. Stephen, you talk about this all the time, things as tools. And I think looking at what you know about an instrument is a tool. Your knowledge of it is something that you can use rather than get swept away with.
Yeah, it's all a paintbrush as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
It
100%.
every bit of it is.
Yeah, there's a lot of good comments. Kind of like, Awar says, it's a tool. Theories can be used as a tool. Learning to use any tool can lead to getting too comfortable with it. Same with musical theory. We use tools, not the other way around. Totally. Like
100%.
I get it. No, you guys are right. Like,
Yeah.
Sometimes the answer to the question you're looking for is in the theory, and sometimes it's a way to dumb down your idea.
Yeah. I like this one from Development of a Void. This is going to be the last one. We're going to get to point 3, but he mentions, like learning the alphabet. And I think that's a great way to look at it. We're having a conversation right now based on, using words, and those words are built from letters. We're not thinking about how everything is spelt as we're having this fluid conversation.
Yeah.
But if we didn't know those letters and we didn't know those words, we wouldn't be able to communicate. We wouldn't be able to, there's a million layers of analogy there. But there's a bunch of great positive ways to look at it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good stuff.
Yeah. So we're going to move along to point 3 here. And you probably guessed from the flow of things and the title that point 3 is performer. A lot of pop stars are exactly this. They're performers. They're charismatic. They have charm. They have moves. They have looks. Or maybe they don't have those things, like The Cure. the band The Cure, they were the anti-posers, the anti-performers. They just stood there like trees. Yet that was their performance, and it was a very striking performance. So,
And the Cure live is awesome.
Cure Live is amazing. But, for myself, I'm not a very commanding performer, but I find the more that I play shows, especially if it's on tours, the performance gets better. The performance gets more natural, and I'm not thinking about what I'm doing. I'm not thinking about being in front of people. So my performance is really kind of an anti-performance in that I just hope at one point to get lost in the music and let the music kind of motivate me to be whoever I am. But I'm not a performer. I'm definitely not a performer at all. But I have had projects where the performances have been striking, but I think it just things lining up. It's not by intention or design or practice. You guys?
I'll go. Like, when I was in the band I was in, this is something I put a lot of time and effort into. So not only did I learn the songs and eventually contribute to the songwriting, but I practiced performing because I wanted to be a good performer. Like, I wanted to be able to play the songs, move around, and put on a show. And I think I got over, it was like one show in, and I was like, okay, I can do this. I like being on stage, and I don't get nervous. So I put a lot of effort into being good live, because I always thought, like, I didn't mind the bands that are so technically, amazing, like they didn't move a lot, like
Trees.
Opeth is a good example. I've seen Opeth 20 times, and
Like
they're not moving around a ton, but that's because of what they play. They're not going to be doing these insane. Yeah, I wasn't doing that in a hardcore band, so I should be performing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Have you ever
so
seen Dillinger Escape Plan?
No.
That is it's very tech and unbelievable. What a show.
Yeah.
Yeah, they all have multiple injuries as a result.
Yeah.
I blew up my knee
Literal
on
back
stage.
surgeries and stuff.
You did, Nick?
I did. Yeah.
Holy jump.
My first ACL tear.
Terrible. Stephen, how do you feel as a performer? Do you are you conscious of being a performer? You are the vocalist of your projects. You're front and center. You are delivering the material. How do you think about this thing? How do you feel about it? And kind of what do you have your eyes on in terms of the future of doing it more?
In previous iterations of my current band, I was more concerned about the physical aspect of performance.
Mm-hmm.
Like just looking like I give a shit. I basically is what I'm like trying to look like I'm paying attention. And
Yeah.
it's all kind of a feeding thing. So like if other members of the band seem like they're doing things, then you're
totally.
going to do that too. Same thing with if the audience is digging at that, changes things. If people look bored, it's hard to be motivated. And I am unfortunately not one of those dudes that's really good at like faking my way of being super into something if everyone else is suffering. So
Yeah.
I am always continually weirded out by those bands when I see them, because like, and at the same time you'll hear that whole analogy like, oh, you have to be performing like there's 200 people there if there's 3. No, you don't.
Yeah.
You don't.
It's tough. But
yeah,
sometimes if you do, you win down
Those
the
3
line.
people. Yeah.
you do. And then sometimes you just look crazy. But currently, no, I'm because I'm singing more than I was in the past. When you're screaming, you can kind of get away. Like
That is kind of a performance, is it not?
yeah, like you look like you're doing something anyhow, and it's a less. Unless someone knows the lyrics to your material, it's less about what you're saying and more that it looks like you're conveying an emotion.
Emoting.
Yeah, but when you're singing, for me, it's more like remember the words, enunciate, project properly, things like that. So
There's I think something that comes up a lot when you're playing locally a lot Like when you're in the local band scene, the local band circuit, you'll hear a lot of people bring up the topic of the tryhards, the people that are kind of faking it, the people that are putting it on, all of that kind of stuff. And I think there's kind of two things going on there. Some people might be doing that, but they are performing. And that's kind of what performing is. Like, especially if you're a theater actor, you're always putting it on. But this is music, and it's supposed to be, true cult.
Yeah.
Apparently.
It's all about that individual person, though, or that project. Like, it may just be, they may be so into what they're doing that that's their way of expressing it.
Yeah. I mean, Manson is a good example. I don't know how many of you guys have seen Manson live, but like they're not like technically great shows, but they're great shows.
I've seen him good and I've seen him horrible.
Yeah.
Right.
I both.
Have you guys ever seen The Chariot?
Nope.
No.
The Chariot is, in terms of just like a complete, they don't even care if they play their songs. They don't even try to play them right. It is, but it is like the best show I've ever seen. It was unbelievable.
I don't think I could do that.
Unbelievable.
To find this
And they
happy
got
medium.
famous on that. You know, they were a huge kind of artsy metalcore, I guess, metalcore-ish, but very creative, very artsy about it. Ex Norma Jean vocalist, and he went on to do The Chariot. And The Chariot was just like such a show, man. Dillinger Escape Plan times 4 million.
Dillinger's not sloppy live. Like,
No.
they're energetic and all over the place, but they're never off.
Yeah.
Like, there's an absolute dedication to getting everything precise.
Yeah. And it sounds like I've seen Dillinger Escape Plan so many times, and there's been a few off shows, but usually, it's delivered very precisely. In terms of anything you guys kind of want to elaborate, gestate on in terms of being a performer, the uncomfortable side of being a performer, how you find your way with being a performer. Stephen, were you ever uncomfortable?
Still am.
Oh, you still
Always.
are? Okay. I'm mega uncomfortable.
It's a thing that I have to remove. Like, I am uncomfortable until I'm on stage, and then it's like, okay, well, I'm here now. I have to do this.
Yep.
And if I acknowledge my discomfort, which we talked about this the other night privately, but like, I get the few times I've acknowledged my discomfort, it doesn't translate well.
Right.
So,
Shut up and play.
exactly. So it's better to just, push your way through it. But something has to be going terribly wrong for me to even acknowledge that I'm doing it sometimes. Or that I'm performing. It just depends. Also, if I'm in a cycle of doing it, like in a series of shows, then it's just clocking in. Like, there's a separation. I think if the real test will be having not played a show for nearly 2 years and then doing my first show sometime in the next year or so, and then feeling how weird that is. Because that, I think anything in repetition, you start to get comfortable with it. Even things you are comfortable with enough time away from them. I don't know. It's the whole, like,
for sure.
It's the reason I admire comedians so much,
Right.
They have to fuck up in front of people in order to be good at the thing they're doing.
Yep. Yeah, in all fairness, I haven't played live in basically my child's life.
Yeah.
Like, they were little last time I played live. And now, the kid just bought a car. So
Wow, eh?
it'll be when I eventually get back on stage someday.
Time to get out there.
Totally.
Post-COVID.
Yeah.
Gonna grab a few comments here. I'm gonna lead off with a little duo here.
Do it.
Reed says Dillinger is unhinged live, and also Air says Dillinger made the environment another performer, and that is definitely true.
Yeah.
That Tower Records scene, you can find it on YouTube. Tower Records show, and he like climbs out into the audience like a friggin' animal. Oh man.
If you saw any of the footage from the last 3 shows, they did those 3 nights in a row in
Yeah,
New
yeah.
York.
Yeah.
Like, he was literally, climbing. I mean, they've done that their whole career, but Pucciato was literally climbing on the rafters and hanging above, 1,000+ people doing the songs.
Yeah. And it's not that that's what you need to do to be a performance, but that was their performance, and
That's
it
their
was incredible.
You knew you were in for a show, even if you didn't like Dillinger. You're going to experience a high entertainment.
I wonder if that's sort of part of a device early on in their playing that they kind of maybe hid their or dealt with rather their discomfort of being performers and just were like, F it, we're just going to be animals. Like, I'm not going to try and have a cool stance or worry about my genes.
Yeah,
We're just going to
They
go.
were just like, we're gonna
Melt it down.
Outshow everyone here.
Yeah.
At all costs.
Yeah.
And if you think about the bands they came up with, like Cave In, ISIS, Neurosis, like all of those bands were also equally big at the time and still have this lasting impact on things. They are all completely different bands on stage. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Very much so. They all had their own thing. Self-Inflatable says, get your eyes on some comments there, dudes.
Yeah.
But Self-Inflatable says, the Chariot, were those dudes, musicians? They performed so much when I saw them that I don't know for sure if half the band actually knew how to play their songs. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it was about it. People still, it kind of held together in some way, but nobody was there for that. It was just, like I say, Dillinger times 400, but the songs didn't really need to hold together very well, which was an interesting idea. Try and get people behind that idea in any band, and most people would be like, "Oh, I'm not comfortable with that." Nick, you got a comment? Steven, you got a comment?
Yeah. What is it? I always get his name wrong. Reed Engel.
By the way, I got your T-shirt order. It will not ship out for a good week because I'm in a different country.
How dare you? You get a T-shirt order. You're not even there. I had a few performances drawn out of me at a particular show. Something about those particular gigs just got me hyped. For sure. I remember, to piggyback on this comment, I remember in the band, we would play anywhere, and we drove all the way up north in Wisconsin, and we were playing some like bowling alley that had a side stage, like a room, huge room, and I'm like, we're playing a bowling alley, but then the room with the stage filled up with all these kids, and they were like bouncing off the walls, and the energy was high, and it was insane, and I'm like, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
And it sticks in my head. Every single time shows come up, I think about that bowling alley gig.
And it was like kind of the prototype for everything moving forward. You're like, wow, draw the energy out of that. Reed also says, I had a few performances drawn out of me at a particular show. Something about those particular gigs just got me so hyped. And we were talking about this.
I'm concerned about you.
Yeah, that's the same comment.
Oh, wait, what?
That was the same one
we just talked about?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have like some early onset stuff going on?
No, maybe it's not showing the same for me. I read the
Yeah, that was literally the same.
Oh my God. Am I just, it's moving and I'm clicking on, never mind.
We still love you.
Shut up.
Yes, he makes a mistake. Yes.
It's because it advances. And never mind. Doesn't matter.
It's fine, bud.
Yeah.
Pick the one you were going to pick.
Miles
I
says
can't
you have a
find
fancy
it.
shirt.
Is it this one?
Yeah.
That's a great one. Great comment.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Miles.
Here we go.
It's polka dot.
Eccentrics says Slipknot put on a slick show in Detroit back in 2015. One of the best shows I've ever been to. And Slipknot, whether you're a fan or not, doesn't matter. Their whole thing was like, it's a show.
They're still great live, whether you like them or not. They're still an incredible band live. No phoning it in ever. with
Yeah.
that band.
Dylan has a good comment, Bun. I had a few.
Son of a bitch.
Is this what's going on? No, this is not what's going on.
No, but Dylan.
No, but it
Dylan
is now.
Is fucking
Shut
clever.
I like
I
it.
had a few performances drawn out of me in a particular. Dylan, well played, dude.
Shut up. Yeah.
I love
Strung
that.
Out says the shut up sounded so genuine.
It was
He tells me to shut up once in a while.
yeah. Yeah.
Shut up.
Shut up.
Yeah.
But in case you guys are not in the loop with this thing, that was the last comment, by the way, or the last point.
Good comments, everybody.
Great comments,
Man.
and we're gonna get into just sit
At the
around.
drive-in was great. Baritone call.
Yes,
They were not great this last time, but
isn't that always the case?
Let me tell you something funny about that band. This is going to give you a little bit of a glimpse inside of Nick's head. Like, just because of the name of that band, and I know they're popular. I know they at least were probably more popular at one point, and they still are. I just didn't like the name of that band, and wrote them off.
At the
Never
drive-in.
listened to them at all. Yeah.
Yeah,
People ask me all the time, listen at the drive-in. You should listen. I'm like, no, probably won't.
yeah. I
I'm
was
just an idiot.
I was never really into the music, but I find myself watching a lot of their shows on YouTube, like fan recorded shows and otherwise, because they're good shows. And Mars Volta, there's the Pridgeon album, especially the Thomas Pridgeon album. I'm just like, whoa, because the drumming is like, ah.
Yeah.
But
That's the kind of guy I am.
yeah, weird band, or weird group of dudes, like very creative.
yeah, it's weird because they were all like, post that they were in Mars Volta and Sparta, and even Sparta early on was pretty energetic live, and then it just seemed like as they all got like just a few years older, they were like, fuck that.
Yeah. Well, they also
It's hard
did
work.
they stop? Well, Mars Volta, the guys from Sparta and Mars Volta, they just kept playing music the whole time. It's not like
Yeah, they were doing different things.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
not like the Refuse thing. Refuse, they just like stopped playing for like what
Right.
10 years, and then they came back, and it was, I think it depends on what side of the coin you fall. Like some people are like, I love Refuse no matter what, and then the other half of the audience is like, yeah, I like the old Refuse. I don't need to go see them again. I wish they wouldn't have done these reunion shows.
I would still like to see it. The songs are good.
Yeah, the songs are amazing.
Clearly, like Shape of Punk to Come is a huge record.
Crazy. Fanning the
And
Flames is a good album too.
Also, brilliant record.
Yeah.
Quicksand is great. Baritone cult.
Yeah.
Hum and Quicksand and Helmet. I found all those bands at like the same time.
Yeah. That was an amazing time.
Mm-hmm.
When you very first heard Helmet, were you impressed with the snare sound?
I remember it being a piccolo snare.
Yeah.
Which is still a thing. I mostly remember being weirded out that was unsung at times. He kind of sounds like Ozzy on that song, on the original recording of it.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and then I bought that record. I can't think of the name of that record, but anyways, I bought that record, and Helmet's weird because there's Paige Hamilton has like 4 voices. Like, and
Really?
especially by the time you get to Betty, like sometimes he's
Right. I get what you're saying.
like he's
Yeah.
just screaming, like
Yeah.
and it's not like full blown like guttural screaming. It's just like a dude screaming, but then there'll be full blown like choruses with layers. It's very interesting. But
This
yeah, he has
Helmet
like
you're talking about?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so like the whole Betty record is almost spoken. It's just loud speaking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's choruses with hooks and stuff in them that have singing, but then the verses will be like snarly and weird, almost Beastie Boys-esque at times. It's very strange. But yeah, I don't know. I still love Helmet. And total tangent. Paige Hamilton is one of the best guitar players ever, in my opinion. And most people don't understand that he is because he's in Helmet. But he is a musician. he's a fucking jazz musician.
Oh, mega
Yeah.
jazz musician. Yeah.
And he also does tons of soundtrack work, gets hired to just fly out and play guitar at random orchestral things. Like,
Yeah.
he's
That's
in
sick.
Helmet, but he's in this other world too, because Helmet's
Yeah.
just straight riff.
Yeah.
Also, a lot of Helmets in 5, which is a strange thing if you actually start fucking with it.
especially
Smooth 5.
Yeah.
for a band that got popular. you
Right.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, Snot Ruled too. Thanks, Aaron. That was a different band entirely, but came and went, unfortunately, because Lynn Straight died. But
Did he die? Really?
yeah, he got into like in '98, like shortly after that first record came out. He like getting off an intersection, and a semi like drove over top of him.
Jesus.
Oh my God.
That was like Ozfest days, like early '98, '99.
Right. Oh man. Oh.
Sorry to bring the mood down with my death talk.
God, man, come on.
Whatchamacallit, 13 Flies. He saw Manson at their height, and it was an amazing show. I've never seen a Marilyn Manson show, and I feel like now it would
Well,
be.
you won't now.
No, I know, but like now I would be able to watch it and not be. At the time that it was big, I was like, "Oh, it's not for me," you know. Not that it's for me, it ever became for me, but like I just like seeing things that are put together in like a big production. Like,
They definitely
show.
used to be a really amazing production, and that era of the band would have been probably the most together lineup.
right?
And it's sad. I mean, his current status is fucking wild, but the
Was Twiggy in the band on that album?
yeah, that was the last, well, second to last, because he was in it and then he quit.
Was John 5 on that record?
No,
Or was that after?
after
That was after.
John 5 was basically
Two
the
albums,
record after that, so like Hollywood and Golden Age
Love
of the
that.
Grotesque
I love
and
that
all that
album.
stuff. And made it up to the Pale Emperor, I think. Then he joined Rob Zombie. But yeah, now it's kind of crazy because the lineup he has currently, is probably the best lineup he's ever had.
Technically, yeah.
Yeah, as far as like musicians go, like that young guy that's playing drums for him is amazing.
The guitar player is sick too.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean,
But he was like a studio dude.
yeah, but I mean, they kind of obviously that's done. I don't know, man. There was a lot of, all those bands went through eras. It's interesting how many of those bands kind of incestuously rotated through the same people.
Yeah.
Because like Twiggy left, it's fucked up. He was like,
Did he go to Rob?
no, Twiggy joined Perfect Circle. He was on the 13th Step record and then the tours after that, and so is James Eha from the Smashing Pumpkins, who's still in a Perfect Circle. Yeah, Twiggy replaced Paz Latchkin, who was the original bass player in Perfect Circle, the girl, and then she went on to do Swan with Billy Corgan, and Eha left Billy Corgan to join Perfect Circle. It's like this whole
This
thing.
Yeah.
And Danny Launer from Nine Inch Nails was part of that for a little bit.
Wow.
Fucking Nine Inch Nails, Richard Patrick, who's in Filter, started in Nine Inch Nails. The guitar player who's in Filter on the first record was originally in Stabbing Westward. Like, all those bands were like just cycling through the same dudes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Insane.
bass player from the Mars Volta was in Manson for
Really?
a while. Yeah, he got into a bad accident recently too, and he's not doing well neurologically.
Oh, no.
So yeah, like that dude was in Mars Volta. He was in that, and then I think he was in another band too for a little while. The LA scene is weird. They all basically are like, I know this guy, and they're like, yeah, we know
Yeah.
him too. He's here already.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. I'm gonna go back to a few from a little earlier.
Yeah.
Anthony says every single day that I practice, going back to our earlier topics, every
Way
single
to rein it in.
every single day that I practice guitar, bass, drums, keys, it's all recorded on my hard drive, organized by date. Too many files on the hard drive is a downside, but he has multiples of everything. So not going to let anything slip away, good or bad, I would imagine.
Yeah, I have terabytes of shit.
Right. Yeah. And you, I'm curious, you got both of you guys, do you guys record your ideas like one idea per session, or do you have a session that is like just a long timeline of many, many ideas?
Go ahead, Steve.
I don't. The only thing I ever did the long timeline with multiple ideas thing was on the RoughRiffs. I do have templates that I use
Right.
for each project, and I've developed a bunch of templates now for YouTube stuff too. But it's just depending on the genre or whatever I'm trying to cover. But yeah, I don't tend to work that way. But what I will do is if I'm messing with something else, or I'll just play guitar through the computer as my practice amp anymore. And I don't really have a practice amp these days.
Mm-hmm.
The Helix is my practice amp, basically.
Yep.
And if an idea happens, since I'm already playing through the DAW to just tinker, then I just record the idea and and I let it either sit. But if I feel inspired enough, I get tunnel vision with stuff like that. So if the idea is fresh for me, this is where it's a problem for me as well. If the idea is fresh for me and I'm inspired by it, I will spend hours on it.
Right.
But if at any point in those hours, something even of the most minor inconveniences me, that song is done. Like coming back to it is very hard for me. It's hard for me to recapture the initial fire.
Really?
And I know if it's good enough, I'll know like it's good. And I've gotten to a point now where I have a process like I'm just going to add what makes this done, I guess.
Gotcha.
Like add a section or two to make it feel complete. And then especially if it's for Close the Hatch, I'll just let the rest of the guys kind of do their thing to it. Because my spark is dead. So let's someone else find one.
Huh. Yeah, ironically enough, the only time I ever had a project that just went on and on was also with BO riffs. That most of those BO riffs ended up turning into Wells stuff. But that's the only time I've ever done that. I will typically get an idea. It's hard to even think about when I'm not playing. Like, most of the time a YouTube video will inspire a riff, and then if it's a good enough riff, I'll start a project with it, and then I will build off of it. I do go back to stuff often.
Right.
I usually do the whole give it a day thing. Like if I write a chunk of something, I'm like, okay, this is cool. Let's see how it sounds in a day. If I go back to it in a day or so, and I still feel the vibe of it, then I'm like, okay, I'm onto something. Sometimes I'm like, all right, fuck this, on to the next. But yeah, I record a lot.
Self-inflatable, to speaking on a
I read
similar
this
note,
one.
says, I've written recorded parts with so much destructive fuzz that I can't tell what the notes are. However, since I wrote it all in scale, just
There you
needed
go.
a few notes to pick out the rest. Train and error. Yeah.
Yeah.
There are definitely some benefits there when you know, like, this is my system and I can find what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm going to do a little thing here.
Do a little thing.
Oh, he's going to make peas what that thing is.
Pee-pees. Okay.
Oh, hello.
Hi. What let's what?
You were saying, sorry.
I don't know what I was gonna ask you about the podcast, but I'm like, this is not an open conversation.
This is not the forum.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've it's weird. I have piles of hard drives, you know, like multiple laying around.
With a shitload of riffs on them.
Yeah.
You're never gonna go back to?
Probably not. And I did it like an entire record of electronic stuff, and I was like, okay, well, I just gotta like flesh it out and put
Yeah.
vocals on it. And then I was like, no, fuck that.
Dude. Well, yeah, I mean, it's the same thing. I have like one or two I have one electronic song basically done.
Yeah.
but I'm like, I don't know, intimidated to do something with it. I should send it to you to see what you think.
I will
But
check it out.
yeah, and it's funny because I have all these hard drives with archived riffs,
Hmm.
but I won't delete it, even if I don't go back to it.
It's time to let it go.
It's weird, right?
Yeah. Well, we do have a public forum now. We should let people know that we're compiling a file of background riffs and background jams for videos if people are interested in partaking in that.
Yeah.
What I just kind of walked into that. The you're talking about the Discord?
I guess we could put it there. Nick and I had discussed, putting up just as opposed to folks paying for background music when creating videos here on YouTube.
Oh, right.
We have, created our own royalty frees, different types of background music just to be, in videos, but
Yeah.
to create a public database for the folks that come here or the folks that create stuff that are on Discord to submit and use any one of our.
Yeah, that would be a great perk for the Discord crew, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I like that idea. How do
Design.
we coordinate it and make it happen? Or is it already in motion?
No, we were just kind of kicking the idea around.
Okay.
Basically, we got to just drop it in a folder that we can share with the Discord crew, and then, there you
Anyone
go.
can take whatever they want
Yeah.
from it to use it for
It's-
their own
You
project.
won't get pinged on any videos or anything, and
Mhm.
you don't got to pay. Granted, it's not going to be, a library laundry list at this point, but it could be,
Well, with everyone contributing and utilizing it, for sure, it could be very quickly. Well, strung out,
Interesting.
you can have access to the folder and use. I've got probably 20 of them in the folder already.
Holy shit. 20.
So, yeah, I'll pull it up now while we're talking and tell you how much there is.
My goodness.
I put a lot of stuff in there. It's aptly titled Background Jams.
Oh,
Oh, this
see,
is
it did
sick.
it again. It's like it advanced, and the thing I clicked on was not what I intended to click on.
So you're going to click, and it's just like a fun little timing thing where you go to click and somebody comments.
Yeah, and then
'Cause
I just
saw
start-
it happen. I saw it happen right now.
Yeah,
Like it, boop.
yeah. I was gonna try and
All right,
bring
this
up
guy's gonna read the same one again. Okay, he's
strung
having some
out.
sort of struggle.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's 18. I put 18 songs in that file.
Stephen,
They're
crazy.
all like
moly.
between like 20 to 30 seconds long, but they're good for looping and background music.
All right. Yeah.
crazy. Ba, 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 ba. What do we got here? Was his touring bass player as well. Whatchamacallit? I think it's RoughRiffs here. Somewhat related idea. Your idea makes me think of fan art outros on some animated videos I watch. Maybe neat to play some fan riffs at the end of videos could be good, bad,
Yeah.
just a suggestion.
Of course.
Oh, it would be cool to actually put a playthrough, like a submitted playthrough at the end of Bandless videos.
Oh
For
yeah.
sure. That would be cool.
Like
A lot of fun.
the out. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We
Great
should do
idea.
that.
That's
Yeah. Add it to the notes.
cool.
Yeah, what I have is mostly just short instrumental pieces of varying genres that are good for just being in the background. They're not intrusive or, they're mixed in a way that's not going to
Yeah.
overload things.
Yeah. I have
I'll-
a few things too.
Yeah, a lot of like lo-fi hip hop stuff and just ambient stuff.
Whatchamacallit? Synth Chris says vocalist from Black Tongue was drunk and stepped outside the tour bus while it was driving on the freeway, got hit and somehow survived.
Good lord.
Holy jumping. Do you guys know about that story of the Swedish twin? I think it's the Eriksson sisters. They're Swedish twins, and they got hit by cars repeatedly. One of them got run over by a semi truck. They survived on a UK freeway, and they're like, seriously, some kind of alien technology.
Oh, they're the ones with a crazy memory. They can like remember what they were eating and like what this hit song was from like 35 years ago.
Yeah. There's so much weird stuff about them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad this dude from Black Tongue survived such a crazy thing.
Sounds like someone needs an intervention.
Yeah, I think there might be
Yeah,
some,
there's
like,
something else going on there.
some
Miles Does Music says
enabling happening.
the band Evergreen Terrace has a song called Chancey Can't Quite Riff Like Helmet's Page Hamilton.
Oh,
Is that the whole title of the song?
nice.
I guess Chancey's the guy in Evergreen Terrace, and he can't come up with the riffs, kind of like Page. Do you know that band, Steven? I think they're called Whores. Not a politically correct name.
I do.
But
I love that band.
yeah, they
That
have
record Gold is my jam.
a helmet kind of thing. They're ex-members of Capsule.
Yep.
Capsule, another amazing friggin' band.
They need a drummer right now if you want to join their
There you
band.
go.
Who, Whores?
Horse, yeah.
I could do that gig.
Do it. That guy before was a beast.
He was a
Why are-
beast.
Why aren't you playing drums on all our music, bud?
I could do it.
I suppose
just-
I could do that
I
too. I still don't.
I am a little bit of a beast drummer,
You are an amazing drummer. from what I've
but
seen.
I
Steven, do
know.
you have an E-kit?
I don't anymore.
Oh.
I sold it because I started programming more than playing. and I had an actual drum kit at the previous place I was residing. Not that I don't have one. There's like 8 drum kits here.
Right, of course.
But
I always kick around the idea of getting a kit because, I mean, I played in another life, not very good, but, you know, I always think it would be way easier to lay the groundwork for drum parts, like really doing it, than like.
yeah, I definitely miss it. I use like I use the pads a lot.
Oh, yeah, I got
Yeah.
shout
So
out to Perry.
yeah,
Oh,
that's kind
nice.
of become my thing. You have the Presonus one.
We have the Atom. It's pretty dope, actually.
I was peeking at it. I have the Presonus mic.
Me too.
you guys are Personas masters.
Oh,
I'm
they're a
fully
quality
in.
company.
Fully in.
Fully in. Yeah, I like the Persona stuff. What
I
you
don't
call
know
it?
about how many bass players they've had. I know they've rotated through a few baritone call. Sorry, I can't click
Oh,
comments
right.
to answer them.
We gotta get you to just
Oh,
sign in
yeah,
to
you guys just have
Restream.
you sign in. Yeah.
It'd be so much easier.
I mean, I saw Whores open with Dalek. They opened for Call to Luna with Julie Christmas a couple of years ago, and the whole thing was an incredible show.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. What planet was I living on? You guys.
I'm
When
a-
did you guys start getting into all these bands? Because I'm curious,
Since I was a teenager.
the direction.
I'm a crate digger though. Like
yeah.
I will dig and dig and dig and
For
dig
albums,
for
yeah.
music for hours. I still do it.
Same.
So Bandcamp is
Taking me to a record store is a bad idea because
Yeah.
we're not leaving.
yeah. I do it on Bandcamp mostly now, but and Bandcamp is incredible. If you want like the weird, the freshest of the fresh, it's
Yeah.
there. This is, I guess, kind of. Well, I guess it's
Yeah.
for all of us. Still waiting.
Dragging our feet.
Development of a Void says still waiting for that Helix project where we all pick the same amp and cab and write a riff with it and compare. Yeah,
I'm still down, man.
I have the time to
Whenever.
do this. I'm gonna make a note right now.
Yeah, let's do it. For me, with like finding random bands, I'm the same. I'll do that, and it's also like when prior to all of this YouTube business, for several years, I was writing reviews for Burning Beard and Sludge Lord.
Oh yeah,
And-
you wrote for Sludge Lord?
Yeah, for quite a while.
Shoot.
And when Aaron, who runs Sludge Lord, submits stuff to the people who review, he doesn't just send you one record. He sends you like 6 records and lets you pick one.
Right.
Oh,
So I would just take all of the records from the file. Like I would just download everything and then pick one of them to review. But then I'd still have this surplus of music coming in every other week.
God,
So
that'd be
that's-
so sick.
But at a certain point, like the reason I stopped writing for Sludge Lord I even told him that, like at a certain point, it's hard, like because Sludge Lord doesn't. I don't want to write reviews on people's records that are bad. If I don't like a record, I'm not going to review it. And they kind of were.
They want that salaciousness.
They kind of were like, just write what you feel, but I don't want to do that. And then when I was writing for them, I was also writing for Burning Beard, which I don't know if that's a thing or not. But Burning Beard wanted you to only do positive stuff. So if you didn't like it, they didn't want you to review it at all. So I just kind of approached it the same way. So it kind of got to a point where he was sending me a lot of material that sounded the same because it's sludge doom.
Yeah.
And it was, like, I can't write the same review 100 times, dude.
Yeah.
Like, these bands are all cool, and every once in a while you'll find one that's really amazing. But otherwise, I don't like. There's a band called Hush from New York, and they're an amazing sludge band, but doing something kind of different, like using bass six and like just a mixed bag of stuff, and really, really like super slow doom stuff. They were great, and I found this band called Black Table through them. That's a black metal band, like a techie black metal band. Great. But then, like, it was like, here's 8 bands that sound like Weed Eater. Like, oh, okay. I eventually was like, just take me off the list, dude. Like, I'm sorry, but I just, at a certain point, I can't, The only record I asked to review was the second Sumac record, and he was like, I already gave it to somebody else. I was like, I already quit. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I just
See you later.
yeah, I already wanted back in, but, I want to do the record, so I want to review because I like that record. But yeah, if you Google it, you'll find my goofy name on some of those reviews.
Amazing. Yeah, I used to read that
That's awesome.
a little bit. I
I always wanted to review. I always wanted to review albums. I don't know why.
I used to have a blog that was all of that at the beginning of when the blogger zine explosion was, and everybody was trading records and whatnot. I never traded illegal records because I was always like, I want to support the bands. But I did do like crazy reviews and, links to their MySpace at the time and all that.
Ooh.
Yeah. And it was called Pyramid Scheme. And that blog actually went pretty big. It was kind of focused on more Toronto centric thing, but Toronto was in a boom period at that point. And a lot of screamo, post-metal, artsy metalcore things were happening here. And otherwise math rock bands and stuff like that.
Do people still read reviews of albums, I wonder?
I mean, I still pay for PR occasionally, so I hope so.
I know I used to go on Blabbermouth a lot and go through the albums, and then they have reviews. I would go on there and just see what people said about it. But
yeah, what was the super big around the same time as Blabbermouth? Pitchfork. When Pitchfork did like cool bands,
right?
Then it just became a pop music blog.
Even like Hit Parade used to do like it was cooler, and what are those other magazines? They used to be like the magazines, and then they kind of turned into Hot Topic.
Now it's Brooklyn Vegan is like the top listed one.
That kind of came out of nowhere, but like it was surprising. I'm like, Brooklyn Vegan, everyone's getting these reviews in Brooklyn Vegan. What's going on? And then I'm like,
the weird name for what it is.
Yeah.
That's got to be it. I think that I think that kind of thing is charming, like the reviews and the blogs and like I think that there's still a thing is charming. Like I like it,
Yeah.
I just don't know if it's something to like pursue as far as like trying. I don't know. Like
I like how Bandcamp goes about it. They don't really do reviews. They do sort of like a scene report or they do articles, and those are pretty good.
Baritone Cult's comment is awesome.
What do we got here? I used to find dope in my parents' Pink Floyd records when I was a kid. Talking records reminds me of that. That's amazing. And Reed says, I try to listen to something I've never heard every single day. And that is
nice.
A cool vibe.
That's a good way to approach it.
Yeah.
That's another reason, which we talk about a lot on, is I listen to things that aren't similar to what I'm interested in.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Because it can only lead to something new.
Yeah.
I listen to a lot of music very much unlike what I write.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. I think we've talked about this quite a bit. Like, I don't know if it was on the show, or I'm pretty sure it was on the show. But yeah, Stephen and I, we listen to a lot of electronic stuff, and I think you
Yeah.
as well in
Yeah,
some ways.
I definitely.
Nick, yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say a lot of electronic music, but a few artists, a lot. Their whole
Yeah.
catalogs type of
Yeah.
thing.
That's how I am. And I listen to, like, we've talked about, like, I guess you could throw, like, punk and stuff in
I love punk.
with
I love punk so
kind
much.
of in the same vein of what we play. But,
Yeah.
yeah, I love punk. I love hip-hop. I listen to a lot of hip-hop. The way I said that, hip-hop.
You guys,
Wisconsin
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
Hip-hop.
God damn it.
You guys-
Ska. I love a lot of ska and reggae. It's, yeah.
You guys chilling on that new RTJ4 record? It's not that new anymore, but
Haven't listened to it.
Run the Jewels.
Oh, right,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
That record is great, actually.
Yeah.
It's an amazing record. I think. I don't know.
No,
I love Run the Jewels.
No, I've listened to the crap out of that album. Yeah. What am I talking about? Yes. That album is ridiculously good. Killer
radio-
Mike is ridiculous.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I've been listening to this band called the Forest Swords. It's very strange, like atmospheric guitar stuff,
Nice.
droney.
Yeah.
And let's see here. I'm going through my list. There's a Cult Leader, which is chaotic as fuck.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Cult Leader rules.
Cult
Yeah,
Leader is pretty good.
so good.
What was the Forest one?
Forest Swords, SWORDS.
I keep seeing that cover, but I never click on it. Not yet.
Definitely do it. And Juana Molina, I've been listening to a bunch of her records. I have no clue what she's saying because I don't speak the language. But it's super weird electronic stuff, and it has this amazing record cover, which is what got me into it, because it's like a knee bone with eyeballs. Sorry, y'all.
Nice.
That's amazing.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
So that record is great, and it's just super weird because, again, I don't know anything about where she's from or anything, but it's just super strange. And trying to think. I went through a King's X phase again the other day.
That's okay. I've been diving into Opeth again for the,
Nice.
I don't know, 814th time.
Um,
I'm like, why don't I listen to this album more?
The band Low put out a record called Double Negative that I like a whole lot. It's super electronic and weird. They're typically almost
Industrial,
acoustic.
aren't they? Oh.
They kind of become that now, but they used to be like almost strictly just acoustic guitar and vocals. Let's see. Mark Lanigan, which I love Mark Lanigan. I've been listening to Mos Def a lot.
Most Def
yeah,
is
nice.
sick. Are you into
Yeah.
Deerhoof at all,
I
Stephen?
am. Yes.
Okay.
There's a Dayton band called 1913 that I've been listening to a lot.
Dayton typically has some pretty artsy bands historically. Is that would you say that is the case? That has been my assumption.
Yeah, well, you have like them, Brainiac, Sear. A lot of funk stuff started in Ohio too. So there's a lot. There's no shortage of weirdos.
Speaking of funk, I don't really listen to too much of it, but I discovered this band Lettuce. They've been around forever, and I'm just like, what an amazing band.
What about Thundercat? You listen to Thundercat?
Thundercat's pretty
rules.
cool. Very jazz
Yeah.
oriented funk.
Yeah.
Great, amazing compositions.
Yeah. And he is like low key, kind of a musical genius too.
Yeah.
There's this band called Songhoy Blues that I listen to a lot, and that record, I got into that record. It's just like they were part of, I don't know if it was apartheid or something. Basically, wherever they were from, it was illegal for them to make art or music, and then they made a record. And they made a record in the process of escaping some sort of war that was happening. It's a recent
Holy
thing within the
shit,
past
man.
few years.
Wow.
But the record only exists as a form of protest, which is genuine as fuck. But it's also because there's some genuine African influence, and it's this take on American rock and roll and blues. So you get weird polyrhythms and stuff happening in songs that normally would never have that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But yeah, I'll tell you what the name of that record is because it's great. It's super weird. It's called Resistance with the asterisk above the E. But yeah, the whole record, if you go look them up, the record was literally created as a form of protest. So it's like the most punk thing that's existed in many
Hell
years.
yeah.
Yeah.
So like at a time, I found out about them because I want to say it was Anthony Bourdain was traveling and interacted with them on one of his episodes. If it wasn't him, it was one of those guys that travels. But I think it was Bourdain. He seems more like someone who would be intertwined in something risque. But yeah, incredible band because it's literally from a point of like I don't know.
It's a contribution to the change of history.
Right. We're
Yeah.
not allowed to do this, but we're doing it anyways. If that means we're going to get killed,
Yeah.
then we'll go to another country and we'll put out this record as a form of protest to the thing that's happening here.
Damn.
That's amazing.
That's hardcore. Yeah.
Yeah.
I will look it up while we're on here. So
Nothing
I can tell you.
I've been listening to is that like pivotal. I found this band Angelus Apatrida, which is like a thrash band that apparently has been around since like 80s or 90s. That in all of my thrash exploration and Swedish metal and all that stuff, never heard of them till this year, and their new album is sick. I finally started listening to that new Pliny album, and it's good.
People are
Super good.
complaining about that record. I haven't heard it yet, but
I've heard
It's
it.
okay.
It's just been gushed over, and I was kind of
Okay.
turned me off a little bit.
Right.
Again, no logical explanation, but I listened to it, and yeah, it's good.
This the Songhoi, I'm reading their Wikipedia. It says they're apologies. They're from Timbuktu, Mali.
oh shoot.
And they were forced to leave their homes in the area they were living due to a civil conflict and imposition of Sharia law, which prevented them from making music of any form because it was all considered protest. And so they made an album called Music in Exile as a form of public protest, and then they are part of a movement and documentary called They Will Have to Kill Us First.
Wow.
In relationship to their music. So pretty out there.
Wow.
Like legit all about it.
Man,
So crazy.
yeah,
It's like just
Yeah, the most
so
recent
many
song.
things.
man.
Yeah, wow. Who's it? Yiggity Yo on our comments here.
Yeah.
The most recent Songhoi Blues post Sharia law, after all of the conflict, was the one Matt Sweeney worked on.
Wow,
So-
wow.
that's sick, man.
But it's just a crazy story, and the music is cool too because it's a weird take on, something that's very ingrained in Americana, is like the whole Mississippi blues movement and all that stuff. But it's like this otherworldly interpretation of it.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah. Wild. So wild. Oh man. Whatchamacallit? Keeping it all going. Abe the Babus says Japanese math rock is something I don't listen to often, but I always find it always finds its way towards me, and I go on like 1 or 2 day binges. I do as well, and I know exactly what you're talking about. I love that Japanese math rock. I love pretty much all math rock, but definitely favor the Japanese stuff and the UK stuff.
I have a stream that I follow on YouTube that's like 24-hour a day live Japanese math rock. It's pretty solid.
What?
Yeah, it's similar to like
Oh,
the
it's like a
chill-
radio.
Yeah, like the chill hop stuff, but it's math rock, Japanese math rock
Yeah.
all day long.
Yeah. Awesome.
nice.
Yeah.
I know nothing of this math rock.
Oh, it's a huge thing. All like throughout
I know it's a
Asia,
huge
there's like,
thing.
it's just really interesting to get into, and the story of it, because some of these bands are gigantic, and most of it is instrumental. And there's like a popular interest in instrumental math rock, and the music is not necessarily
Is this
complex.
Japan, you said?
Japan, but also you can find the phenomena throughout Asia.
Yeah.
The more developed areas like
They are
Singapore
huge.
and whatnot.
The Asian countries are just insanely into metal and guitar.
In metal as well, yeah.
Yeah,
So the
just-
math rock I'm talking about, a lot of it is quite clean. Sort of stuff that is inspired by and quite a bit elaborated upon the sort of formative Don Caballero roots. Don Caballero is an American math rock band that sort of really popularized the form. There are other bands that contributed to it, possibly even before Don Caballero, but I think they really blew it out wide open.
You guys
And
always make me feel ignorant about music.
there's just so much to
Yeah, I
get
know, that's
into.
what I'm saying,
It's endless.
Yeah, there's millions
people
of
hear
bands.
me rattle off bands all the time, and they're like, you know, I get so much shit about these bands. Of course, you listen to this band that no one's ever heard of, and then like you guys are just pulling all these bands that I'm like, I've never heard of half of this stuff. But that's sick. That's cool. You know,
Yeah.
Steven was like sending me a bunch of stuff a couple weeks ago, and I was like, oh my god, I can't believe I haven't listened to this. Oh my god. Oh
Did
my
you
God.
ever listen to Anup's current band? It's because that's
Oh.
very influenced by math rock. It's not a math rock band, but there's a lot of math rock
Yeah, I
stuff in
started
it.
listening to some of his
Snooze?
stuff, man. Snooze, yep.
I love it because it's not at all the scene that he's popular in.
Dude, that dude is so sick.
Great drummer, and it's awesome to hear him doing something else
Yeah.
other than gent.
Yeah.
Not, there's a lot of great gent, but like I don't listen to gent really.
It's okay. You cannot like things.
Yeah, I don't dislike it. There's gent things I like.
Yeah. No, I
But I
feel
don't.
ya.
I don't want to listen to another gent band.
Yeah, it's like we were talking today. It's like a thing comes about, and then bands are like, I want to sound like that thing. And then you have a bunch of copycat clones. And that's not to say that the bands aren't full of good musicians or that they don't write good songs.
Yeah.
It's that it just gets lost in it's like, it's a wave,
Yeah. I'm gonna drop. Is this their whole thing? I think it's their whole thing. Yes, it is. I'm gonna drop just in the comments here.
Hey, where I will. Thank you.
The Toe
I can tell you
Toe
the
Toe Bandcamp. Toe is like a really big Japanese math rock band.
wild. The most boring thing I've been listening to is the soundtrack from Motherless Brooklyn. If you haven't seen that movie at all,
Motherless Brooklyn.
Oh, that was
it's
dude, who was that?
Edward Norton.
Edward Norton. Yes.
Yeah, it's a noir movie that was made a couple years ago,
Yeah, it was.
but all of the music is kind of the era. So there's a lot of like Dizzy Gillespie and like old jazz stuff. And then like Wynton Marsalis wrote some songs with Tom York for the movie.
Oh wow.
And it's really interesting, but it's all like very, like if you think about like noir film, it's music and jazz that would be in a noir film. But no modern anything other than that Tom York is a part of the soundtrack. The rest of it, and even the song he's on is very noir-esque. It's just an interesting, it's interesting background music. It's orchestral music that was originally made for a film to be set in a noir thing. But and then Daily Battles is the only single off of the soundtrack, and it's still, heavy in the noir vibe with some vocal work, but it's very sad and dark noir style.
That's cool.
Nice.
But it's a great record, especially if you're just like, if you appreciate any of that like instrumental weird jazz stuff. But it's all like very solemn, very down tempo. There's nothing upbeat on the whole thing. It's just kind of like rainy day music, but it's fucking good.
Rainy day music feels so good.
Dude, I can't, we talk about this. I talked with Nick about this. I listen to the chill hop stuff so much. And it's not that I'm like going after any particular artist. It's just always on in the background while I'm doing something.
I find it inspires thought. It doesn't get in the way of thought, but it feels like it carries me along. I know exactly what you're talking. Well, I'm interested in similar things. I don't know if it's for the similar reason.
Yeah.
Probably so.
Yeah, I saw this comment by 13 Flaws, and
Yeah.
it immediately reminded me. I remember there being a documentary about a band out of the Middle East. sort of
Yeah.
the same thing.
I bring it up because I'm not sure if it's what I'm thinking of. I know that there's a story currently of some women, like women,
Oh.
Middle East metal band
Yeah, I vaguely heard about
that
that
are
too.
doing kind of a protest thing as well with their music, because they are forbidden to do such things.
The thing 13 Flaws is referring to was Dudes, and it was a documentary I want to say was on Netflix or Amazon.
It's that band's name was Aramaeus.
Ah.
I am looking it up because I remember that documentary being early Netflix, like when Netflix didn't have regular movies. It was all like
Yeah.
weird documentaries.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. When it was great. When it was still great.
Well, then there was the Russian band, something with pussy in their name. You know what I'm talking about?
Kind of. Yeah.
Pussy Riot.
I don't know Pussy Riot.
Okay, Pussy Riot as well went to prison, which is a fun thing to Google, by the way.
Okay.
Because a lot of stuff comes up.
A lot of alarming things come up.
Yeah, so they're a Russian feminist
He's
protest
at
punk band,
Incognito Town.
Oh, wow.
and they're based out of Moscow. They've all been arrested at multiple times with like potential life sentences and stuff
Jeez.
for civil disobedience and
Yep.
being gay, just crazy stuff. Like, let me get into this. I'm trying to like scroll down to their whole thing. Yeah, they were convicted and charged with premeditated hooliganism.
Sounds
That's the
That's
actual
a fucking
charge.
Office episode.
Yeah, and they basically are being accused of motivating religious hatred. Yeah, they were all sentenced for it. And
It was
I
not
believe
that long ago.
2012.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of like, it's one of those things. It's like, I really care about the thing I'm creating. I'm not willing to die for it. I'm
No.
out.
But I think
I
Well-
respect the fuck out of it, like all day long.
yeah, we don't know sort of
Yeah, it's
the
hard to-
inhibition of freedoms. Like the freedoms
we're
that we
very
enjoy are incredible. You know,
Of course.
we can say and do almost anything we want, even against our government, against the church, against anything we want. It's favorable if you have a point when you do those things. That it's some people just do it to be contrarian. I have no interest in that. But when people are sort of speaking up for a marginalized
believe in.
community or whatever,
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
I'm like, yeah, that's important. And I'm super thankful that we can do that here. I just think back as simple as my mom. When I was a kid, when I was really young, my mom didn't have the same kinds of freedoms as women have now. It's not even very long ago,
Yeah.
No. Yeah, that makes sense. I totally understand their devotion and their dedication and respect their, ferocity to fight for what they believe in, particularly in, when they're in a place that it's not a thing and it is criminal to be who you are, which is kind of wild.
so
Yeah,
wild.
it's bonkers.
Oh,
hard to wrap
Conversations go every direction on this, which I really enjoy. It's either like
Well,
really
that-
ridiculous or so deep.
It's
Yeah.
hard to wrap your head around that process. Bun and I have talked about this ad nauseum about like the human condition,
yeah.
and to just like we're this far along, and there's this
And we're still at the beginning at the same time.
yeah, it's like we've made major headway on certain things, but then there's other things that's like this real barbaric like thing happening in people's heads still that like makes them afraid of X, Y, or Z, thus leading them to judge X, Y, or Z. And it's just, yeah, it's fucking crazy, man.
Yeah. The world.
For every bit of advancement, there's always something that stays. right
Yeah,
where it
a little
was.
bit of
wasn't it
stagnation.
Paula Abdul who said 2 steps forward, 3 steps back?
Well, she was singing to a dog, Nick.
It's amazing that you remember that detail. I like it.
Natural fact, yeah.
I'm going to take an opportunity here to kind of address a few things because we're going to be closing down in about 10 minutes, but I'd like to do this well before we close out and just continue the cool conversation, the super fun stuff. But for those of you who are with us over at Patreon, thank you very much. If you're interested in helping the show along at all, it happens once a week, every Wednesday.
It's $5 US.
Yeah, $7 Canadian dollars, and $5 US. You can cancel at any time, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, no pressure. If you're interested in helping out, that's pretty much the only way you can do it at the moment. And the folks with us right now, Mark Shaw, Development of a Void, Cosman, Renato, Ben Drakeford, Tanner, RoughRiffs, Borglum, Baritone Cult, Barry Prosser, Kevin O'Brien, and Anthony Nieto. Thank you very much for helping us out. And that's the last I'm going to say about any kind of call to action or whatever for the rest of the show. We're just going to kind of ride it out and keep the conversation going until what would be 9 o'clock Eastern. Or not. What is your time again? Central. 9 o'clock Central.
In the interest of community support, I do want to shout out Steven and his wife's podcast, That's Sexy. I listened to it with my wife on the way back from Florida, all of them, and it's hilarious. Steven and Mercedes read vintage. What would you call it, Steve?
Well, it's their
Erotica.
vintage erotica magazine. It's basically, there was obviously pornography, but there was a period of time where people were just like submitting their fan fiction about fucking, for a lack of a better term.
It's so
I've dropped
funny.
the Spotify link to the show in the
I appreciate
comments
that,
there.
fellas. That's
it's
very nice.
super
of you.
funny. It's super funny.
We started a YouTube channel this week.
Oh yeah, is it up?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's up. There's an episode on it with
Yes. All right.
the girls from Witchfinger, which is Mercedes' sister Morgan and Megan and Yasmina. They all have a podcast together, so we did
Sick.
a Zoom podcast.
Oh,
with
it's
them.
a video podcast.
Yeah, we're gonna start. Anytime we have guests, we're gonna do it on video format until we get something set up to where we can do it every time. But right now, the only setup we have is this setup. So it's
Kinda
weird
need
because my
two
camera's at
cameras.
like an angle, and
You guys could
Yeah.
just sit on top of one another.
Yeah.
It would be fitting.
Sit on my lap.
fair enough.
Yeah.
But anyway, I wanted to let the crew know it's a great podcast. Very funny. You guys are great. And your wife.
Yeah, if
has
you,
a nice snorty laugh.
Yeah. If you don't offend easily, it's a.
Oh
it's a-
yeah. That's very very much not safe for work.
You shouldn't invite your
it's
children.
Risque.
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
listen
yeah.
to
Your
your
grandmother
kids.
will hate
It's
it.
18 plus, 18 plus,
Yeah.
18 plus. But
It's all in the name of comedy, but it is adult content.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not pornography. It's sort of how ridiculous pornography is.
Yeah,
It's funny.
It's just laughing at
Yeah.
people's assuming that other people for some reason want to hear what gets them off.
I know
Yeah.
that's
It's
essentially
so
what
weird.
it is. it's like Sarah Silverman had this bit once where it's like if you're thinking about cheating, just rub one out and then then think about your decision. It's like when those people wrote those stories, it's like, dude, maybe you should rub one out first before you send
Write
this
the
thing
story.
in.
Yeah.
Because not only is the imagery and the
It's wild.
imagery,
It's wild.
the ideas and the writing is just like, the writing is probably what makes it extra annoying or cringy.
Yeah, it's bad. They're usually very poorly written.
Good.
There's horrible grammar. It's bad enough. Like I have bad grammar sometimes, admittedly, as just being someone from the States.
Me does too.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know what words do, but either way, it's so bad that sometimes I'm reading it and I'm like, I have no idea what this person's trying to say, and then I just kind of have to improvise what I assume they mean, which is also funny. But yeah, it's fun, and I appreciate you guys bringing it up. But
No, definitely. It's
hopefully
killer.
people check it out.
It's good. Absolutely.
I got a fee here to get up on the screen? Oh, I did it again. Hold on. I want to go back here first. It advanced. JW says I'm way late as always, but J-Dubs,
It's all
we
good,
we
brother.
love you. Thanks for
Absolutely.
hanging out anytime with the J-Dubs.
Better
It's a
late
good
than
time.
never.
Yeah. But moving along here, Reed says it was a lot of fun hearing people on NPR say Pussy Riot.
For sure.
And Anthony says, got a history of defending Pussy Riot and Navalin back in another life. Nothing but love for them. So yeah, it's good to see that these stories are are making their
Reed's
way out
question
there.
is hilarious.
Hey,
Reed.
Reed, thank you.
Yeah. They're definitely artists.
they are artists.
Oh shit.
I think they want to be performers.
They want to be performed upon.
I think us reading it is the closest to a performer they're ever gonna get.
Yeah, you're actually probably making dreams come true.
These people are probably dead.
yeah.
True.
And is
Or
Stephen,
convicted of
is
some
this
sort of
the things part of gear stuff and things?
Hey, we got jokes tonight.
Is
That's
that is
good.
that what's going on?
Yes, that is
Yeah.
exactly what it is. I think you'll find out my things because I'm actually making a video about things, so
Yeah.
that'll be funny.
And Baritone Cult wants to hear a killer story as we go out. So
Fuck,
Stephen,
man.
you're on the spot.
I'm on the spot.
Maybe that I just ruined it.
Yeah. Killer story. I don't know what kind of story you want.
How about an
Stephen
embarrassing
in
story?
Ohio sweating it out. Awkward band moment. The most awkward band moment you can think
Oh
of.
man.
Okay, I got it. So we played a bunch of shows down south, made our way through Tennessee, Florida. On our way back, we played in Nashville, and we played in Chattanooga. In between there, we got hot chicken.
Chattanooga's dope, by the way.
On the way in, now, on top of that, Chattanooga's weird because all the bars can't serve liquor, but they have liquor stores attached to them. So you
Right.
buy a whole bottle of liquor and then come in the bar and you have to pay for mixers like Coke and orange juices.
That's right.
It's
I've
weird.
heard about this.
They're
Yeah.
dry? Wait.
Yeah,
what?
yeah, they're dry as hell.
That's weird.
So, anyways, you end up, doing a lot of drinking. But anyways, we ate at this place that had hot chicken, and it's the most famous hot chicken place. I'm not going to say it because I don't want to speak poorly of them. But as we walked in, my guitar player said that it smells like salmonella in here. And we all still ate. And then... So, between, Nashville or it was basically Franklin, Tennessee by that point. But anyways, between Tennessee and Ohio on our way back, we all were violently ill. But
From both
I
ends.
was the smart one who was like, next time we stop, I'm just not leaving this truck stop until it's out.
Yeah.
Like when I have nothing left to give, we go from here.
Yeah.
So the drummer did not take that move. And a little bit into the trip from the last stop, he's like, hey, the next time you see a place, like a rest stop or something, pull off. And I'm like, okay. So then we pass a few of those. And he's like, the next time there's any exit, just pull off. We're like, we got it, dude. And then a few minutes later, he was like, just pull over. Just pull over. And then it went from just pull over to him, like, slapping me. Like, I'm shitting. I'm shitting. So
Tasty.
it's full-blown raining, middle of the night.
Oh, nice.
And he's in a field shitting himself on the side of the road.
Yes.
And he's like, I need something to clean myself. And the other guy,
rain,
Ben,
yes.
that used to be in the band with us, was like, just give him one of the shirts from the merch bag. I was like, fuck you, we pay for those. And they're like, we got to give him something. So we took him one Wendy's napkin. And I couldn't stop laughing. And I was trying to film it, but it was so dark and I couldn't focus. So he's like freaking out, cussing at us. and shitting himself simultaneously in the rain, bare-assed on the side of the highway. and we gave him one napkin in the rain, so it was done for anyhow. And he basically like just had to like crawl back into the van with whatever he had left on. And we had to try to make it the rest of the way, and we had 2 more stops after that. And then
Must have smelled great in the van.
It did. The next day, we got stuck in traffic for what seemed like hours. And I got out to piss, and this is like daylight. And then the traffic started moving, but they couldn't not move with it.
Right.
So, like, they're literally like 2 miles away from me. So he got me back because he was driving that day, and I ended up having to walk like 2 miles to get back to the vehicle that was still moving because it had to move with the flow of traffic.
Yeah.
And then eventually they pulled over, but they were in the center lane.
Right.
So they were just stuck.
And everything was bumper to bumper. You can't
so
even get over.
I'm just like running alongside the highway trying to get back to the... those are my stories. That's what I got.
It's great.
Those are good. Those are good. We're going to shut her down here. Thanks to everyone who hung out tonight. It's always good to see your lovely faces and for your amazing participation in the comments. The comments are always fantastic on Bandless.
Absolutely.
You know, if you like the show, share it with your friends, or don't, because they might ruin it.
Yeah. Make sure they're cool, man.
But yeah, subscribe, like, do all that kind of stuff. And we're going to take it on out here. Yeah, always awesome. Have an
Thank you,
amazing
guys.
night. Thank you. And we'll see you in the next one.
Peace.
See ya.